G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here with part 2 of The Outsiders for Sunday 8th of February 2015, followed by First Dog on the Moon, I'm hoping.
A devoted deputy to, I can't remember, Catherine, was she Brendan Nelson's?
Yeah. She's got a lot of experience in
being the loyal deputy, and I was also thinking,
various leaders,
you know, we have this terrible circumstance at the moment where it appears that the role of Prime Minister appears to diminish people in office when it should enhance them. And I don't know, maybe this is her ultimate game, but at the moment, being the deputy and being the foreign minister, it's a marvellous job. Maybe she wants to have the good job until maybe she wants the Stephen Bradbury victory in the end. I don't know.
No, I'm afraid that's all we have time for, the Stephen Bradbury Politics Outsiders panel. Thank you to our panel today, Catherine Murphy, Deputy Political Editor with The Guardian Australia, Dr Mark Triffett, former Director of Strategic Communications for the Business Council of Australia, and Michelle Griffin, State News Editor at The Age. Time now for a special message from First Dog on the Moon and his Institute for Modern Living.
Hello, Patriots. Welcome to First Dog on the Moon's Guide to Modern Living. I'm Walkley Award-winning cartoonist for The Guardian Australia, First Dog on the Moon. Well. Would it be churlish to gloat? Would it be unseemly, even un-Australian, to kick a man when he's down? To unkindly poke at a fellow with the 10-foot pole of ridicule when he's come a cropper? When he's at his lowest ebb? Would it be gauche? What if his demise was of his own hand, though? What if he was the one who did his own undoing? Is it fair? Is it sporting to point and laugh? The question for all of us today, Australia, is how will we respond to the suffering of our fellow man? How will we respond as our Prime Minister slowly, heavily falls from grace, falls so very, very, very far? What sort of character will we show? Will we do the right thing? Stand up and say that while we may have disagreed with him, that we'll play the ball, not the man. And yes, the Prime Minister is just a man, an Australian like the rest of us, like you and me, who pulls his budgie smugglers on one leg at a time like everyone else. Or will we take the other road, the easy route, the path of least resistance? Will we take cheap shots at a man who's down on his luck, in the gutter of his career? Will we make cruel little jokes at the Prime Minister's expense? Will we embiggen our own trousers as we mock and jeer at Tony's faded, withered lycra tights, flapping forlornly in the breeze? Is that who we are? Is that who we have become? You bet you are. You bet I am. Men and women of Australia, please welcome the Tony Abbott is going to get fired marching band with the "You totally brought this upon yourself, so suck it up" dancers. Kick up those heels, ladies. And here is why we're going to rub his royal nose right in it. This is a Prime Minister who hounded a former Prime Minister for years over one lie, and then went on to tell so many lies himself it made that first lie look like a muffin at an aunt's picnic. That's not a double standard or even a triple standard. That's a quadruple standard with a backflip and a hypocritical half pike. When it comes to political expedience, the man is an acrobat. This is the Prime Minister who said Medicare was safe, then tried to kill it with an axe. Who promised us Gonski, then took a chainsaw to higher education. Who drafted a budget so mean and so petty that he couldn't even get Clive Palmer to vote for it. This is the Prime Minister who carefully crafted the death, torture and refoulement of asylum seekers into a catchphrase. So, when this bloke stumbles out of office, is hurled out the window of government by the leering, capering goblins of his own side of politics who cheered his every move while they gleefully laid waste to the nation, when this bloke cops it right in the bicamerals, will we take a solemn moment to reflect on his passing, to mourn the loss of a servant of the people, or will we crack open the Pinot Grigio and fire up our smug-powered barbecue to cook us some delicious Schadenfreude sausages? Let us here at the First Dog on the Moon Institute be the first to stand up and say, suck rocks, Tony, you embarrassing reactionary buffoon. Your cows have come home to roost now, Mr. Prime Minister Feather Duster. How does it feel? History won't just revile you, Tony, it will laugh at you. And when they build that memorial to you, the nation will recall that you were the one who coined the phrase, the worst Prime Minister ever. And we'll remember that you, above all others, embodied that with more gusto than anyone else. Congratulations, champ. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Of course, if Tony doesn't get the boot in the next few weeks, we take it all back. Please don't cut any more funding to the ABC. So, thanks for listening, Patriots. This has been First Dog on the Moon's weekly sneering, expletive-laden rant for the First Dog on the Moon Institute. You're welcome.
Well, I fully agree. Tony Abbott appears to be going to get defenestrated tomorrow rather than Tuesday because he thinks he'd rather be thrown out a first-floor window than a second-floor window. Malcolm Turnbull appears to be the top-ranking front-running contender to be the next Prime Minister of Australia. And for those overseas subscribers who are not familiar with the Australian system, we're not like the Yankees of the excited states of Norte Americano. They vote for the president. And the president gets into their White House and then he appoints all his crony capitalist mates to be the secretary of this and the secretary of that and the secretary of something else. You know, that was how Kennedy, when he was running his Camelot White House, was able to pluck Robert McNamara out of the Ford Motor Corporation and stick him in charge of fucking up Vietnam. Crony capitalism works that way in the excited states. Here in Oz, we have a system whereby you got a local member of parliament, this is federals we're talking here, and they run on a 3-year term. We elect our local members. We send our local members to Canberra, and whichever party has the numbers on the floor of Parliament, they get to form the government, and they go to their party room and they elect their leader of the party. So at any point, the party which is in government or the party which is in opposition can suddenly sit down around a table and decide that they don't like the current leader. They're being made to look fools on the international stage and nothing's working domestically, and the population and the electorate are completely sick of the bastard, so they just get rid of him. There was a lot of talk among the Liberals about how terrible the Labor Party was when they got rid of Kevin Rudd and put Julia Gillard in there because they thought Rudd was going to lose the election because he was arrogant and hubristic and he tried to micromanage everything. And then they found that there's an awful lot of male chauvinist piggery in Australia, and a lot of people started calling Julia Gillard Jew liar, and they didn't seem to connect to the point that calling somebody a Jew liar was kind of anti-Semitic and had Nazi overtones and connotations, but, you know, the right wing of the Australian branch of the Ku Klux Klan didn't see any problem with that. So we can say that Julie Bishop has probably not got a chance, not at all. Whereas Malcolm Turnbull is deeply hated by the extreme right wing of the Liberal Party because he accepts that climate science is science. And he was planning, when he was the leader of the opposition after Johnny Howard lost the election, Turning Bull was planning on continuing Johnny Howard's policy of having a carbon tax. So there's an entire, possibly 30% of the Liberal Party who've said up front right away that if Malcolm Turnbull is returned to the leadership of the Liberal Party, they're going to resign from the Liberal Party. So we don't know how that's going to go. But just to complicate it even more, there's a bloke called Warren Truss who runs the National Party, and that used to be the Country Party, aka a bunch of farmers. The ones that haven't been sent broke by the drought from the extreme weather from global warming that they don't believe in. And Truss has decided that he has a government coalition agreement which has been witnessed or is in the hands of the Governor-General, the representative of the English Queen. And that is an agreement between Warren Truss and Tony Abbott. It's not an agreement between the National Party and the Liberal Party, whoever the Liberal Party wants to be led by. And because the National Party is deeply stuck on the idea that global warming should have evaporated in a puff of electoral hoodwinkery, and they know that Malcolm Turnbull is highly likely to do something sensible, like join the rest of the world in trying to do something about global warming, the National Party reckons it's going to pull out of the coalition agreement if Tony Abbott is removed and replaced by anybody, particularly if he's replaced by Malcolm Turnbull. So we've got Morrison and Hunt, and, well, I mean, Hockey might fancy himself, but nobody else does. As the commentators said, it was pretty much when Hockey opened his mouth and told him what a bastard he was in the budget, and let slip the Liberal Party and the National Party's actual hidden agenda, you know, like the one that they were really working towards back when they were telling lie after lie after lie after lie after lie after lie after bullshit in their election campaign. It was when Joe Hockey announced that, you know, unemployed people under 30 were going to have to starve for 6 months before they were going to be eligible to get unemployment benefits, and that they were going to make technical and further education students borrow money to fund their own education so they could, you know, either stay uneducated or emerge with a HECS debt to, you know, pay off for the rest of their life. He's done the same for the universities. Tried to gut Medicare, ripped half the, well, no, not half, but 20% of the budget away from the Australian Broadcasting Commission. And yet, for some really strange post-neo-colonial sycophantic reason, Australia is still spending $560,000 on jet fuel and maintenance every night. We put up 2 Super Hornets to go out and fly around trying to bomb the second-hand, third-hand Humvees that the Americans supplied to ISIL by giving them to politically appointed Iraqis who weren't interested in fighting for Washington. We can afford $560,000 a night just for fuel and maintenance. That's without dropping a bomb. You know, I'm talking 2 aircraft on a 10 or 12 hour patrol here. If we start dropping bombs, we can push it up to $1 million per patrol. Yeah, because Australia's really broke. You see, we can't afford to pay pensioners. We can't afford to pay young people if they're unemployed because the economy's falling apart, because China's not buying any more iron ore. It's not buying too much more coal, and nobody wants to buy coal. And whereas we used to have a manufacturing economy, sort of, kind of, after a fashion, back when I was a kid, we've become specialised by the economic rationalists in digging up the country and shipping it overseas. Personally, I was kind of hoping Tony Abbott would stay in for another year and so thoroughly discredit the Liberal national parties that they would never rise again. But I think, yeah, he will be turfed out, and Malcolm Turnbull will come in, and maybe they will just schism. They will just rip themselves apart as the Billy Tea Party tries to stick its head up its own arsehole and pretend that global warming isn't happening, despite, you know, what is it? The 10 hottest years in the history of record keeping have happened since 1998, and I think we've had 10 record-breaking years since 2000. It's beyond me how these people can keep clinging to their theory that global warming is a conspiracy cooked up by a bunch of corrupt scientists who want to get more grant money for their university. But that's the official story on the economic right wing. It's going to be an interesting week. I look forward to it. I hope you're all looking forward to it. And my prediction is that Tony Abbott will walk into the party meeting tomorrow morning, pull out a revolver and shoot himself. That's the only way he's ever going to get the Liberal Party to feel sorry for him after what he's done for him. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao.